Bonded in Death. Summary. By J.D. Robb, Chapter 1, Arrival in Death. Giovanni Rossi's transatlantic flight from Rome to New York is uneventful, but his mind is focused and alert. His passport says he's a retired businessman in his 70s, but his posture and watchful eyes hint at a man still accustomed to discipline. He moves quickly through customs, carrying only a small overnight bag. Outside, the terminal's chaos seems to fade as he spots the waiting sedan. The driver, a man with professional composure, confirms his name, gestures to the back seat, and pulls smoothly into traffic. Rossi relaxes slightly, watching the city rush by, but notices the driver taking a route away from the main thoroughfares. He leans forward to speak, only for his chest to tighten violently. His vision blurs, breathing collapses, and his last thought is of a wartime field long past. The car slows in a deserted industrial block. The driver opens the door, eases the lifeless body onto the sidewalk, and drives away without a backward glance. Chapter 2. Eve Dallas gets the call. Lieutenant Eve Dallas is just finishing a late-night discussion with Roarke about a building acquisition when her communicator chirps. Dispatch reports an unidentified male DOA in a derelict zone. Eve grumbles, grabs her coat, and signals Peabody to meet her at the scene. They arrive to find uniform officers holding a small perimeter. The body sits propped against a warehouse wall, hands relaxed, eyes half open. No visible injuries, no blood, no sign of a struggle. The ID in his pocket lists him as Giovanni Rossi, Italian citizen. Eve's instincts say this wasn't natural causes. The position is too neat, the expression too blank. She orders sweepers to check for trace evidence, requests a canvass of the area, and instructs Peabody to run a background check on the victim. Chapter 3. First clues. Back at the morgue, Chief Medical Examiner Morris examines Rossi. The preliminary scan reveals total systemic collapse. Heart, lungs, and brain shut down simultaneously within seconds. No toxins match known databases. No burns, no punctures, no abrasions. Morris frowns. Whatever killed him is clean, Dallas. Too clean. If I didn't know better, I'd think his body just switched off. Eve mutters, "Nobody just switches off." Somebody did this. Chapter 4. The Widow's Story. Eve contacts Rossi's widow, Elena, in Rome. The woman appears on HoloLink, elegant, grief-stricken, clutching a shawl tightly around her shoulders. She insists her husband left for a short visit to meet an old friend. Nothing more. She didn't know the friend's name, location, or purpose. Her tears seem real, but Eve senses guardedness. Maybe Elena doesn't know, or maybe she's protecting her husband's secrets even in death. Chapter 5. Digging the Past. Roarke takes Eve's request for a deeper background. Hours later, he uncovers references buried in wartime archives. A G. Rossi is listed in fragmented after-action reports during the urban wars, operating in Eastern Europe. Each mention is linked to a codename, the 12. The files are so heavily redacted, they're almost useless. Roarke leans back. Whoever these 12 were, they didn't officially exist. Eve, narrowing her eyes. I know someone who might. Chapter 6. Somerset's Shock. When Eve brings Rossi's photo to Somerset, she expects sarcasm. Instead, the man goes pale. Giovanni? His voice is tight. Somerset admits he knew Rossi during the urban wars. They were both part of the 12, a covert multinational band of operatives who acted outside official military command. They infiltrated hostile zones, rescued civilians, and destroyed dangerous stockpiles. They didn't wear uniforms, but their loyalty to one another was absolute. They never spoke publicly about their work. "We vowed to disappear," Somerset says quietly. Chapter 7. The Message. Later that evening, Somerset receives an encrypted comm on a long-abandoned channel. "One down, more to go, you know why." The message lists names, half already crossed out. Somerset realizes several members have died in the past year. Car accidents, sudden illnesses, muggings gone wrong. Chapter 8. Expanding the net, Eve's team identifies surviving members. Dr. Luis Herrera in Buenos Aires, recently killed in a freak crash. Nadine Legrand in Paris, stabbed in a supposed mugging. Jack Simbutu in South Africa. Location unknown, possibly in hiding. The killer is clearly moving globally, systematically eliminating every member. Chapter 9. Weapon Research Lab results on Rossi's tissues show complete cellular collapse consistent with a micropulse biodisruptor, an experimental device from the urban wars. It uses a contained energy burst to overload biological systems without external marks. Officially, all such devices were destroyed decades ago. Eve notes grimly, "Somebody kept one." Chapter 10. Motive from the past. Somerset recounts a mission. The 12 targeted a warlord infamous for mass executions. Intelligence reported civilians had been evacuated before the strike. The compound was destroyed, fighters, staff, and the warlord's family inside. Rumors later suggested some family members had escaped. If a survivor lived, they could have spent years planning revenge. Chapter 11. Warning the survivors. Eve sends alerts to surviving members, offering NYPSD protection. Some accept, some refuse. 1. Cyber ops expert Victor Belov in Toronto vanishes before contact is made. His body is found days later in a deserted park. Chapter 12. The Psychological Game. Another message to Somerset arrives. "I will end what you began. I will make you feel it." The killer isn't just executing, they're taunting, making Somerset relive the war. Eve builds a profile. Patient, highly trained, obsessed. Likely ex-military with black market connections. Chapter 13. Setting the bait. Eve proposes making Somerset visible to draw the killer out, charity events, public routes, while surrounding him with invisible protection. Somerset agrees despite Roarke's anger. "If this ends it, I'll risk it," Somerset says. Chapter 14. Close Call. At a Roarke Industries charity gala, Somerset mingles while Eve, Peabody, and Backup blend into the crowd. A server brushes past Somerset. Moments later, he stumbles. Eve tackles him before he falls, shouting for medics. Tests show exposure to a weakened form of the weapon, enough to cause dizziness, not death. A warning. Chapter 15. Closing the Circle. The server used a forged ID traceable to a weapons dealer in the outer colonies. This dealer's transactions point to a buyer, a former child soldier from the urban wars, known only as Ryan. Intelligence files confirm Ryan's family was in the warlord's compound destroyed by the 12. Chapter 16. Face to Face. Eve arranges a meet, using Somerset as bait. The meeting takes place in a controlled public space. Ryan arrives, poised, confident, carrying a disguised case. "You destroyed everything," Ryan tells Somerset. "This is balance." The conversation escalates when Ryan opens the case. Inside, a compact disruptor. Eve's team detonates an EMP charge, disabling the weapon. In the chaos, Peabody tackles Ryan. Cuffs snapping on. Chapter 17. Interrogation. In the interview, Ryan is calm, almost relieved. They've spent decades building this mission, seeing it as justice for their family. They admit to killing most of the 12 and insist they have no regrets. War doesn't end. It waits. And I waited. Chapter 18. Aftermath. The case is closed, but Somerset is quieter than usual, wrestling with the knowledge that even the right actions in war can leave unforgivable wounds. Roarke reminds him, "You saved more than you lost." Eve files her report, knowing the shadows of war linger long after the battlefield is gone. For the 12, survival came at a price none of them could fully pay. Major themes: loyalty and brotherhood. The 12's unbreakable wartime bond. The long shadow of war. Old actions shaping present danger. Justice versus vengeance. The thin line separating them. Cost of secrets. Concealing the past can invite present peril.